Hello, abnormal family. I have another one for you. I hope you all enjoy this one as much as I like reading them to you. Let's start. Lily's favorite things is to take a long walk every evening along the cliffs that run above Sugar Creek. She would usually wait for her husband to get home so that he could watch the children while she walked and took the peacefulness and beauty of nature in. On one particular evening, a couple of years back, her husband was running late getting home, but she happily waited and went for her walk, and when he arrived, though it was much later than usual, she hopped in the car and headed down to Park Drive and followed it to the lot at Sugar Creek Trails. She parked the car and headed to a trail that she knew well. The trail starts off going down a big hill, then veers off to the left, and then up another hill. At the top of that hill, you go right on a different trail that takes you to the cliffs overlooking Sugar Creek. At the top of the cliffs, Lily sat down to enjoy the sunset view. Though the sun had already set, there was still plenty of light, and the moon was already high and full. After a few moments, Lily began to realize that she was hearing something coming through the woods on the other side of the creek. It was like something that she had never seen before. She quickly hid behind a tree so she could watch what the creature was doing. As she watched, she realized that it appeared to be half wolf, half man. She told me how she remembered standing there hiding behind the tree, thinking how crazy this was. Lily watched as it crept out of the woods on all fours, but then stood on its back two legs as it went into the water. It seemed to be about 7 feet. All the creature jumped around, splashing in the creek like it was trying to grab a fish. Suddenly it froze and pointed its nose skyward and began sniffing. Then it looked right at her. The beast's eyes glowed red like something straight from the pits of hell. The beast howled, a horrific sound like something she had never heard before, and ran for the cliff right below where she had been hiding. Lily remembered that she had her .22 pistol in her pack. She pulled it out and fired 2 rounds right at the creature. It immediately fell from where it was climbing, about 10 feet up from the cliff. It behaved like it had been hit, and she was certain that she could see blood in the water. It hurried for the far back, and it pulled itself out of the water, raised up on its back legs, and howled again. The sound chilled Lily to her bones. She watched frozen as it dropped down to all fours and scrambled back into the woods that it had came from. Lily turned and ran all the way back to her car and rushed home. To this day, she has not returned to walk Sugar Creek trails. It seems pretty scary, and I think this is a place that people probably should not go, she says. I go out, and I still wonder, what did I see at Sugar Creek? I told a man, his name is Mr. Dorman, is retired and spends a good amount of his spare time out gathering rock fossils. He likes to walk the creek beds because that's where he finds most of his best rocks. Late one afternoon, he also had decided to go to Sugar Creek off of Highway KK and to walk it for fossils. It was a cool afternoon and had rained the day before, and after a good rain you find the best rocks from the water turning over in the creek bed. Billy parked his car and started walking southeast along the creek. He had gathered a few nice fossils when he realized that it was starting to get dark. The dark didn't bother him much because he had a flashlight and knew the area well enough to find his way. He continued along the creek, shining his flashlight on the rocks when he came to a deep part of the creek with high cliffs on the one side. A strange noise coming from further up the river made him stop and listen. It was like a wolf howling at the moon. He looked up and noticed that the moon was big and full. The sound started coming toward him, and fast. Billy said that he ran to the side of the creek to lay down flat in some weeds. Mr. Dorman could just barely see the creature as it came to the deep pool in the creek, but it seemed to be a wolf man of about 7 or so feet tall and went along on its hind legs. It stopped in the deeper water and looked around. its nose in the air sniffing. Billy thought it was going to sniff him out of his hiding place, when it lost interest and began splashing around like it was trying to grab at a fish, or maybe just washing itself. He didn't know what it was doing, and he didn't really care. He just wanted to leave so he could get out of there and get home where he would be safe. It splashed around for about 15 minutes before moving back up the creek the way it had come. Billy waited until he couldn't hear it anymore before jumping up and getting back to his car as fast as he could. Billy Norman told me that he had told no one about this before calling me. Well, this made 2 reports of a werewolf in almost exactly the same place. I headed out to Highway KK to investigate. I parked my car by the bridge, unpacked my camping gear, and set out for the cliffs along Sugar Creek. It is early September, and the weatherman has said there is supposed to be a full moon this night. But there is a hurricane in the Gulf causing some cloudiness here in Missouri. It was about 5 p.m. when I started out, and every step of that almost mile-long walk I felt like I was being watched. I was quiet when they finally made it to where I wanted to camp. The quiet trickle of the creek and the soft whispering of the light breeze moving through the trees. I asked myself if I could actually expect to find a werewolf, and the answer was no. Maybe a stray wolf, a pack of coyotes, or even a territorial bear, but certainly not a werewolf. Those are just myths, I told myself, right? As I gathered my firewood, that eerie feeling of being watched came over me again. I couldn't shake it. I just knew that something was out there watching me. It wasn't long before the darkness of night overtook the comfort of the daylight. Even the full moon hid behind the clouds, only peeking out occasionally. I had my fire burning brightly, trying to shake the feeling that something was waiting for me to turn my back so that it could pounce on me out of the blackness of the woods. The forest came alive that later got splashes in the creek, twigs breaking, steps and scurries on the forest floor. At every one I jumped and turned, hoping to catch a glimpse of a werewolf. Or did I? Around 9-something, let out a howl, and it was close. I scrambled to my flashlight from my bag to investigate, and headed for the woods where the sound had come from. By the time I got myself together and headed over there to the second howl came. This time, it was on top of the cliff. I knew that there was no way one creature could have moved that fast, so there had to be at least 2. I hurried back to my camp, built my fire up bigger, and got myself ready for bed, knowing that there was not going to be any sleep for me this night. From the safety of my tent, I watched out the unzipped door, but hardly got more than a glimpse of nothing more than fast movement. It continued all night. Fast steps around my campsite, howling from here and there, occasionally growls. Shortly before sunrise, it went quiet. I waited until it was light enough to see and quickly packed up. By then the sun was up. I began walking around looking for evidence of what had tormented me that night. And right there in some soft were the tracks of a beast. Not just one set, but many sets. They were clearly dog tracks, and some of them were pretty big. But not just one dog. There were tracks from a whole pack of dogs. Now I can't say for sure what Lily and Billy encountered while they were out at Sugar Creek. But I met a pack of wild dogs, and I am quite lucky because dogs are not scared of humans at once they've gotten wild. They tend to get mean and can be pretty dangerous. So if you're out at Sugar Creek, you may run into something. It may be dogs. It may be a werewolf. What do you think happened? What did we run onto? Do you believe there's werewolves out here, or do you believe it was just a pack of dogs that people were mistaken for the Dogman, the werewolf, or the boogeyman? Wow, guys, that was a good story. Let me know what you think that they ran into and what was going on down there. I have a pretty good idea of what I think, but I want to hear what you all think. And seeing the blood in the water and everything, yep, she definitely hit it, and I think it was enough to cause it to go away. But it seems there is more than one, and I think there is always more than one when you run onto them. It's, well, like my buddy Randy says, one of the moderators. It's not the one you see that'll get you, but the one you don't see. Guys, I appreciate you watching. Until next time, keep your head on a swivel, don't be something's dinner, and God bless.